Thank you very much again for coming to today's lecture. And today is the first Latin class. Well, I have to admit that I'm not a specialist for Italic or Latin linguistics. But since we have a lot of very useful references, dictionaries, grammars, yeah, it is not difficult for us to figure out what the text, what's the meaning of, so it is easy for us to understand the text and to study by ourselves sometimes, yeah. So before our class really begins, I want to give a short introduction to the schedule of our courses. As probably some of you have already seen the schedule in our, how to say, 公众号, I don't know, yeah. We will have regular classes in May. WeChat public account. Okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah. So we will have regular classes also in May next month. There will be actually every week 3 appointments or 3 time slots. That is, a Monday is the time for the German Tokaran, for the Tokaran classes taught in German. Because this is my regular classes. This is my responsibility in the University of Munich. And then Tuesday and Saturday, this is our Euro online classes. And each month there are about, I calculated a little bit, there are about 8 meetings. So we will divide these 8 meetings into 4 different languages or 4 different classes. That is, every month we have 2 classes for Tokaran, 2 classes for Greek, 2 classes for Sanskrit, Vedic or Buddhist Sanskrit in general, not specifically classical Sanskrit, and also 2 classes for Latin. Actually, after some short introduction, our classes would be actually reading classes. So we will read texts together, and through reading, we will analyze the difficult forms, and I will add some information from the historical linguistics. We will also get an idea of the Indo-European linguistics. Well, this is kind of advertisement for our official account. Yeah, this is this official account goes back to our Indology group in Shanghai, Fudan University. So if you're interested in my classes, you're welcome to follow our official account to get the updated information. Okay, and now let's come back to the Latin class today. So I have to put it clear that my Latin class is really different from the normal Latin classes some of you might have learned or studied in China or in normal classics department. Because I will not actually focus on the intensive reading or the enormous vocabularies or the difficult, we will analyze some difficult passages. This is the first Latin class, teacher. Yeah, today is the first Latin class, yeah. And we will have following classes in May and also in June and July, yeah. Yeah, since this is the first Latin class, so I want to give a very short introduction to what you are going to have. Because some of you might have the plan of learning basics and well, I will teach some basics, of course, but our class is not focused on the regular Latin classes offered in the department of classics or department in China. Yeah, so I will actually analyze. I will actually select the texts which are mostly interested, which are most interesting for the linguists. I mean, Indo-European linguists. So this includes not only the old Latin text. Well, I actually, personally speaking, I really enjoy reading Seneca or reading Cicero or Cicero or Cicero. Yeah, I mean the three different versions pronunciation. Yeah, I really enjoy reading this. But for this class, I prefer the old Latin. I mean the Latin earlier than Seneca, earlier than Cicero, but still. In order to appear to some of you, I also offer reading of like Horatius or how to say it in English. I only know the German Horaz or the Latin Horatius and Vergil. Yeah. But still, I will focus on the linguistic analysis of the forms. So actually, I will spend more time on explaining the form and explaining some interesting etymologies. But I mean, I won't analyze every word, but for some important words, I mean, historically and linguistically important words, I will spend more time on them. Yeah. And then not only the Old Latin, we will also read some inscriptions and also the other languages which belong to the Italic family. So actually, I put it here. So this is actually a course for Italic linguistics, and inside this course, as I already mentioned, we will read some familiar stuffs like Horatius and Vergil. And then we will read some old Latin, old Latin, like inscriptions, of course, inscriptions. And then, and then the other families like Sabellic languages. Sabellic languages like Oscan, Umbrian. Yeah, so this is so this is actually our plan. Yeah, and I will so I will actually start with some short introduction to the resources actually we can make use of, namely the dictionaries, the grammars, and some very important reference books. So most of the reference books, you can find it in the internet. Or if you can't, you can send me a message if I have. Well, most of the cases, I have them as PDF, so I can send them to you. But I would strongly recommend you to first search for yourself. So for the textbooks or the grammar, reference grammar, I strongly recommend you to have this book by your side. It is actually very intensive, also comprehensive. I mean, intensive. I mean, with respect to the depth of the grammar, it explains really to the very detail of the historical grammar of Latin, along with other languages like Greek, Sanskrit, and also Slavic languages. Comprehensive with respect to the coverage, not only the Latin classical period, but also the older period, but also the Sabellic languages, and also even Vulgate Latin. I mean, Vulgate Latin, and also the development from Latin to 中文翻译，不是很确定。我在网上看到过一些 because as for the Chinese translation of this terminology, I'm not sure. Probably we can, yeah, we can find some, yeah. But since I already put the English names here, you can just memorize the English names, yeah. Well, back to the grammar. So this is actually the best Latin grammar for the historical grammar of Latin, the best grammar we have. And also for the beginners, kind of friendly. And this book, what I've shown you is actually the first edition. Yeah. What is that? Oh. Okay, so what I have shown you is actually the first edition published in 2009. And actually in 2020, just last month, the second edition has appeared. So if you are interested, you can actually try the second edition, which is enlarged compared to the first edition. And it is actually not so cheap. If you add the shipping, it will be around $100. Yeah, but it really worth the money. You certainly learn a lot from this book. For the time being, you can actually use the first edition, which is there hasn't been much changes actually. There hasn't been many changes. So you can still use the first edition for some basics. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and the dictionaries, for the Latin dictionaries, I guess that most of you, or some of you have already heard about it. So I make it a little bit bigger. So earlier I wrote a summary for a journal about the Latin linguistics. So actually the dictionary, it depends on your self. I mean, if you prefer English, you can of course use Oxford Latin Dictionary. But if you prefer German, you can use another dictionary called Ausführliches Lateinisch-Deutsches Handwörterbuch. Actually, there's an updated version published recently. And you can see that this dictionary has a very long tradition and very old history. It goes back to the dictionary made in 1735, so about 300 years ago. But still, it is very, how to say that? It's very useful. That's why in 2013, there's a reprint or restructured, because they use a new font to replace the older one. And then, of course, we also have a French dictionary called the short name is Le Gaffio, Le Grand Gaffio, and Le Grand Gaffio is actually the Gaffio is actually the name of the editor called Felix Gaffio. There's also a, how to say that, updated 2001. Yeah. I think I should actually a moment. I think I should probably mute. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I have to mute all. Yeah. Okay. And then OLD, short for Oxford Latin Dictionary. This is how to say that? Probably for most of you, more friendly and more useful. And in 2012, this is actually a second edition, divided into 2 volumes. Yeah, I don't have actually I don't have the PDF. I only have the paperback. Yeah. Okay, but there's actually another dictionary called Latin Dictionary, edited by Lewis and Short. So so for this dictionary, we have a abbreviated name called Lewis and Short. This is also very useful. And then if you prefer, I mean, not really prefer, because if you want to check the Japanese translation or the Chinese translation of the Latin words, you can actually use this Latin Japanese dictionary, yeah, called 罗和字典. Yeah, and I guess that there's also a Chinese Latin Chinese dictionary, but I'm not familiar with the situation in China. If you know that, you can put it in our group chat to let others know. Yeah, and then if you want to check, if you want to make a research of a specific Latin word, and if you want to know, you want to collect all the occurrences of this word, and I will recommend you to use this dictionary. The abbreviated name is TLL, short for Thesaurus Lingua Latinae. And this is actually by far the most extensive and the most authoritative dictionary in the world. And it is published and edited in Germany, actually in Munich, by the German Academy. No, actually Bavarian Academy. Yeah, it is still well, it hasn't been finished. I guess now they probably reached the alpha, probably reached the letter S. Yeah, yeah, and actually there's a short introduction to this comprehensive Thesaurus Lingua Latinae in 2012 by this person. If you're interested, you can check it. Yeah. And then comes Latin Etymological Dictionary, which for this course, for this course, more important. And we will frequently check these etymological dictionaries. The first one is also by the German scholars, called by these 2 persons, Alward Barder and Hoffmann. So pay attention. This is Hoffmann with a single F. There are, I know that if you kind of familiar with German personal names, you will notice that some names are spelled very different, or not very, very different, but there are several versions of the same name. Like Schmidt, you have seen this, but there's also another Schmidt, and also there's another Schmidt. So just like this Hoffmann, you have this Hoffmann, the famous Karl Hoffmann, like Karl Hoffmann. the teacher of Goto, Toshifumi Goto. But here you have this Hoffman with a single F. Pay attention, this is single F, Hoffman. Well, the reason that I have to emphasize is that in the later, in another etymological dictionary, which is, well, I will come to this later, yeah. So this dictionary called Lateinisches Etymologisches Wörterbuch is actually one of the most important Latin etymological dictionary if you want to check the history of the words, yeah. Okay, so this dictionary is published in Germany, specifically in winter. This publishing house, this press is really influential in Germany. Very famous for publishing academic works, especially dictionaries of our major Indo-European linguistics. For example, the famous Sanskrit etymological dictionary by Meyerhofer is also published in this publishing house. And we also have the Russian etymological dictionary, which in our later classes we will also make use of. And then we also have Hethitisches Wörterbuch, Hittite dictionary, etymological dictionary. And then we also have Lithuanian, Litauisches etymological dictionary, Litauan. Yeah, you have, I have, here's Chinese translation so you can understand it. And then to the second one is a French etymological dictionary, published by these two persons, Alfred Elnour and Antoine Meillet. And Meillet is really famous. I guess some of you might have heard this name before. And Meillet is actually a student of Saussure. So this is Meillet. Meillet is a student of Saussure. And actually, in my following classes, I will also give a short introduction to the famous contribution by the Saussure. Okay, and for this dictionary, after its publication, actually there's a third revision in 2001 by Jacques André. And after this, there's also a series of addenda and corrections under this name called Chronique d'étymologie latine. Yeah. Yeah. And then comes this famous dictionary published in Leiden University by Michiel de Van, Etymological Dictionary of Latin and the other Italic dictionaries. Yeah. So here comes the, so here I have to mention the name again. So you can see that this dictionary is published in 2008. And then it refers to the previous dictionary, of course, in almost under every entry of this dictionary. And in the whole dictionary, the name Hoffmann of the previous German dictionary is always spelled wrongly. It always spelled with with double F or some other mistaken versions. Yeah. So this is really a little bit pity. Yeah. And for this dictionary, if you want to know the quality in detail, I would recommend you to read the review by Brent Vine, published in the famous, how to say that, review journal called Clatulos. And yeah, I can just read a little bit. Yeah, it says that it is the doorstep at which many of the floors might be led is that of the publisher. So actually, the mistakes should be attributed to the publisher. And then this is, in short, one of the most poorly edited works of scholarship that I have ever seen. And the atrocious quality of the editing is all the more galling in view of the outrageous high cost of the book, and so on. Yeah. So you know the how to say that? Yeah, the feedback or the response inside the scholarship, inside the Italic linguistic scholarship. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, take a look. Yeah. So this name is always spelled wrongly as double F Hoffman. Yeah. And other mistakes and so on. Yeah. Okay. And for the grammar, I actually mentioned the grammar by Michael Weiss. But if you like want to have the idea of the basics of the Latin grammar, there are several books, grammar books you can use. Well, I listed the German textbooks, but there are also a lot of English grammar, and I know that recently the famous Latin grammar was also has been translated into Chinese. So actually, you can you have now a lot of options. And for the advanced grammar, I would highly recommend this one. This one is a little bit old, but still the most extensive and most, in German called ausführlicher, most very detailed grammar. And it has also a short name called Kühner Stegmann. And after this, there's also in German word, this grammar by Gerhard Meiser. And Gerhard Meiser, I can show you the book here. This is actually the grammar, historical grammar by Gerhard Meiser. And actually before Michael Weiss, the outline, before the grammar by Michael Weiss, the historical grammar by Meiser is actually the standard, and you have to check it. But even after this book by Michael Weiss, the value, this grammar by Gerhard Meiser is still very important. You have to check it sometimes, and you can see that this book is only about less than 300 pages. So it is really, how to say that, simple put and very well structured. So you can, how to say that, it gives you a kind of a very clear and very distinct structure of the Latin language. Of course, the grammar of Michael Weiss is also very good, but you can see that it's about 700 pages. So sometimes you really need some patience to read from the beginning to the end. Okay, so this is, okay. And then there's another Latin grammar, which you certainly have to check if you want to know more about the Latin grammar, Latin language. This grammar made by actually started. How to say that? It is actually inside this serial called Handbuch der Autotonswissenschaft. It is actually the most important handbook or handbook serial in Germany for ancient studies. Yeah, how to translate Altertumswissenschaft, ancient studies, or yeah, I don't really get it. Yeah, so so inside this series, there are several divisions, and one of them is devoted to Latin grammar. There are several authors. One of them is Manu Neumann. On Manu Neumann, probably some of you have heard this name before. In one of our class, we talked about the Jaina studies in Germany, which you have to, for which you have to remember this person called Ernst Neumann. And Ernst Neumann is actually father of Manu Neumann. So you can see that Manu is certainly not a German name, but it's a Sanskrit name. So, so this Sanskrit first name comes from his father. So his father is an Indologist and also a very famous China scholar. And then this grammar has, if I'm not mistaken, 3 volumes. The first one is a how to say that, the Formlehre, how to say that, the phonology and also the morphology. And the third edition, the second volume is devoted to syntax and also style or stylistics, yeah, in German called stylistics. And the third volume is the index or register, yeah, of in German called Register, yeah. But in English, I think it's an index, yeah. So here I put some introduction to his father, because as probably you all know that Jaina study is almost unknown in China. Although this scholarship has been established since about 150 years ago, and a lot of important scholars from Germany, from from Belgium, and also in Japan, there are a lot of important China scholars. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, here. So actually, if you are a kind of advanced Latin learner or Latin scholar, you have to keep this book by your side to check the Latin grammar all the time, to check the Latin grammar if you find something confusing or something unusual. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I gave some short introduction. I selected some passages from this dictionary. So you can see that this grammar, this is a German text, and I put a Chinese translation. So you can see that this Latin dictionary, Latin grammar is actually really comparative grammar. So for the analysis of the Latin form sum, sumus, sunt, so he compares the Alt-Indic Vedic form, and also the Greek form, and also the Slavic form, Alt-Kirchen Slavic, yeah, Old Church Slavonic form, and also the Hittite forms. Yeah, so this is really a historical grammar, but different from the grammar by Michael Weiss, because this grammar is really also philologically detailed, very in German, very sehr ausführlich. Yeah. Okay, and then actually not really relevant for our class, but I have to mention that if someone is got interested in the language of the, how to say that, the later stages of Latin, the Latin language in the Middle Ages, you have to check this grammar, this Handbuch, published in the same serials. It consists actually 5 volumes. So altogether, you would have like 4,000 pages grammar for the Latin in Middle Ages. Yeah, very how to say that, comprehensive. Yeah, and then for the French, there's a famous book by Meillet and Vandris called Traite de grammaire comparée des langues classiques. Yeah, sorry for my awkward French pronunciation. And then there's also a new collection of Latin grammar called Grammaire fondamentale du latin. 6 volumes have been published. So yeah, you can check the information here. Yeah, this is also a very important collection for Latin grammar. And now comes the Latin grammar by Michael Weiss, which we will, during our courses, study in detail. I have to say, I have to make it clear. I know that almost all of you are quite fluent in English and you have no problem reading English. But some of you have told me that probably it would be better for me to read some of the passages together with you, because I can highlight the important points and the grammars to be memorized, and which is more important than the others, because the grammar by Michael Weiss has like about 700 pages. Yeah, it's pretty much a great job to read it. Yeah. Okay. So, and then there are also some secondary literature on Latin syntax, like this one called New Perspectives on Historical Latin Syntax, and so on. And also there's a voluminous book published by Pinkster called Oxford Latin Syntax, and only first volume has been published about the syntax of simple clause. Yeah, okay. So now probably we can, so this is a kind of a brief bibliographical introduction to the important bibliography literatures. Yeah. Now let's turn to some interesting stuff. Yeah, I know the first hour of bibliography is kind of boring for some of you. So now let's have a look at the map of Italy and in the ancient times. So here you see a map. I hope it is big enough. Yeah, you can recognize the names. Yeah. So what we studied, what we learned as the Latin language at that time occupies actually. Okay. So this part, you mean this part about the Latin language, or okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I can speak a little bit Chinese. Yeah. Yeah, but I think you can understand. This is a map. This is a map of Italy in the ancient times, right? Yeah. And then you can see that it is marked by different colors. And what we studied, the Latin language occupies actually this area, and all the surrounding areas are occupied by other languages, like this is a language called Faliscish or Faliscan, and this language is quite Faliscan. this is very yeah, it's just a name. Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to translate it into Chinese. Faliscan, yeah. And then this language is quite closely related to Latin. Yeah. So some of them, some of the scholars, or not, I think not some of them, but there's a tradition, Latin Faliscan language family. Yeah. And then you see that these are the Oscan in German, Oskisch, and this is Umbrisch. So this is the two important components of the Sabellic languages, Oscan and Umbrian. And you see that the others, there are also other languages like Venetian, Venice, yeah, Venetian. Okay, so actually, now let's take a look of this language family called Etruskisch, or in English called Etruscan. Okay, Etruscan. And for the Etruscan, okay, let's take a look at some pictures. We find it in the internet, so I copied the link to the group chatting, so you can check it yourself. Yeah. So actually, in this website, you find a lot of introduction to the Etruscan art, and so for me, I read. Okay, I visited some museums earlier. For example, the museum in New York, the Metropolitan Museum. I saw a lot of these mirrors, yeah, by the Etruscan, yeah, and these mirrors are really kind of there's a lot of these mirrors in the Etruscan sites, and you see that he's also a introduction. This figure, this person, no, he's not a person. This figure is Hercules, the famous Greek semigod, yeah. Hercules. You can see that, and also you see other objects like this is a chariot, and this is, yeah, and so actually you can check the pictures yourself. I myself is not a, I'm not an art historian, so I couldn't give you much introduction to these things. And another website which is also very useful is this one, in the Metropolitan Museum. Yeah. So let's take a look. So can you open these websites in China? The first one and the second one. I'm not sure this first one, because the first one called WikiWand. But the second one, probably you can open it. Have you ever tried this site? Okay. So actually, in the website of Metropolitan Museum, you can also actually search for kind of Etruscan. 你们可以打开吗？这网页可以打开吗？啊，OK，这 PDF，呀，啊，第二个可以吗？好的，可以，行。啊，第一个不行吗？啊，好的，可以。对，就是你们打开这个网页之后 ，Yeah, you can see that if you search, just to search Etruscan, you can find a lot of these mirrors. Yeah, bronze mirror, and bronze mirror, and so on. Yeah, a lot of, yeah. Ah, okay. You breathe with VPN. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, so let's okay, try the second one. It works. Okay. Yeah. So this is actually um, the cultural, the Etruscan art, the cultural stuff. You can check the. So you can actually know that this language did not exist alone. It is really connected with a specific culture, the Etruscan culture, Etruscan art. Yeah. And I heard that in the Etruscan society, the women had a really higher status, uh, even higher as the men. Yeah, in the Etruscan societies. Yeah. So now let's turn to the language. I just mentioned briefly the Etruscan language because it is Etruscan language is actually not an Indo-European language, but since you can see that it is like how to say that it embraces the Italic language family, and there had been a lot of contacts, exchanges between this language, this Etruscan language, and the Italic, the Oscan, Umbrian, and so on. Umbrian, probably, yeah, and also Latin, of course, yeah. So let's take a brief look at the Etruscan language. So I based my introduction mainly on this book. So this book I can show you. This is a book published in the same publishing house. It's a little bit, yeah, called Beach Stave Press. It's the same press where the Latin grammar by Michael Weiss was published. Yeah, so this is a small but very academic and very important publishing house in the U.S. It's located actually in Ann Arbor. Does anyone know where Ann Arbor is? Near which city? Where is Ann Arbor? Yeah, great. Yeah, it's in Michigan University. Yeah. So this is the book called A Manual of the Etruscan Language and Inscriptions by Wallace. And if you go to the index, if you go to the content, you can see that first there's a writing system and the phonology, and also the grammar, uh, nouns, pronouns, verbs, and participles, and also syntax. And then comes detailed a lot of uh, inscriptions. And I can show you some inscriptions. Like, yeah, probably this one. Yeah. Wait a minute, my computer is reacting quite slowly. Yeah. So I make it bigger. You know. So this inscription is on the stone. It's about 600 BCE, and you can see that this is not Latin, or this is not Indo-European. Yeah, yeah, I won't I won't give a try to read this inscription, but you can see that there are because you can see that there's also a sigma, and also there's a phi, and you certain and this is a chi. Yeah, so actually the Etruscans, they borrowed the alphabets from the Greeks. Yeah, and to be specific, from the West version, because the Greek alphabets had actually two versions. The Western version was used by the Etruscans to write their own language, and that's why you find this phi, you find this chi, and also you find sigma, and so on here. Yeah. So this is basically what Etruscan inscription looks like. Or Kai, yeah, okay. Yeah. Kai, yeah. He, or he, yeah. So actually the content, the inhalt is actually a little bit boring. Yeah. You can see I am the Stella of Avila Fedushke, and so on and so on. Yeah, gave me. Yeah, so. And then the reason why I want to mention this language is that there's there had existed, how to say that, there had been a lot of contact between Etruscan language and other Italic languages, or other, no, there's a lot of contracts between Etruscan language and Italic languages. So here you see there's, of course, there are native vocabulary, like clan is son, and sech is daughter. Sex, I think this should be pronounced as sex, yeah. And husu, children, and so on, yeah. So they are not Indo-European languages, yeah. But they are also borrowing from Greeks, because it is quite understandable. If they already borrowed the alphabets, it is quite natural for them also to borrow some words, of course, yeah. But most of them are like names, like Ajax in Greek called Aiwas, and in Etruscan Aiwas, and so on, and Hercule and Hercules, and so on. Yeah, Cetis, and so on. Yeah. But there's also borrowing from Sabellic languages, from the Italic languages, like the word for God. It's really interesting. They also borrowed the word for God, as we already have seen earlier. The ancient societies, they really have their own words for gods. Yeah. But it is really interesting that they also borrowed the word for God from Italic languages. So actually, the word for God in Sabellic languages is like isos, and we will check the dictionaries later. Yeah, and then borrowed into Sabellic. It's called Etruscan word for God, ice, yeah, called ice, yeah, and so on, yeah. Okay, there's another interesting word, namely the word person in English. The word person actually comes from Latin word called persona, and persona, according to the, how to say that, the updated scholarship, it is very likely a loan word from Etruscan. In Etruscan, we have a word called, how to say it? Actually, in Etruscan, we have a word called felsu, and then from felsu to persona. And felsu actually itself is a loan word, probably from Greek, I suppose. Or the idea is what is actually the person? The person is actually the one. It actually means the mask. Yeah, the mask. So the mask used in 就是面具了，就是他们戏剧当中，就是悲剧或者是喜剧，就他们戏剧当中会戴面具嘛，就是古代的，so in ancient times, the, how to say that, in tragedy and also in comedies, the actors usually or actresses, they usually had masks, and then from mask to the meaning of person. Yeah. So you have the mask, and then it represents a certain role represents a certain person. Yeah, so this is actually the logic of borrowing. Yeah, so you can see that the Etruscan word felsu is actually a sua volta sia imprestito dal greco, from Greek, and precisely from the plural called prosopa, the, how do you say that, the face, yeah, or the mask, yeah. Okay. So this is actually Etruscan, and we won't spend, I just give a very short, a very brief introduction to this language. And if you want to know more about this language, I would strongly suggest you to check this book. Okay. You see that, sorry. Yeah, by Wallace, Manual of Etruscan Language and Inscriptions, yeah. Okay, so now probably let's come to the Italic language, namely, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is actually still a little bit disputed. Yeah, but well, I just quoted. Sorry, you see that? Yeah. So yeah, so in this book by Wallace, it says that it is actually not quite certain, but this borrowing from Etruscan and further from Greek is probably the most promising explanation. Yeah. So you can see that actually the study of etymology is not without problems, especially for words quite familiar, too familiar to recognize origin of the words. Yeah. So before we start, let's take a short break. So after a break, we will look at the Sabellic languages together. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is yeah. So you can read a little bit. Well, I'm sorry that I couldn't make it bigger. Yeah. Okay. Or probably here. Yeah. Yeah, probably here. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a break, and I will come back later. Okay. 哦，大家好，我又回来了。你们刚才有什么地方听得不明白，我需要重新用中文重复一遍，或者是解释一下的地方吗？如果没有的话，那我就默认你们都听明白了，且我继续讲。嗯，OK，so 你们没有睡着吧？我看你们那个没有反馈，你们没有睡着吧？OK，好的，对，就是你有朋友跟我讲，有朋友跟我讲，有好几个朋友跟我讲，他说那个什么，我讲英语的话可以，更加focused。Because some friends, some of some of my friends told me that if I speak English, they can, they can be more focused. Yeah. So, so I think it's probably better for me to speak English so that I can keep you focused. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's a group. Yeah, I will tell you the group name, or you can. Yeah, we will talk about it later. Yeah. So for the Sabellic languages, we also easy to sleep. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah. So you can see that the most of the we have how do you say that? Uh, I think I should first show you a picture. It's probably better. Yeah. So this is. So this is probably one of the most important. I will. I put it in the chat so that you can. So this is actually the one of the most important Sabellic inscriptions we have. Yeah, and I'm not sure if I can make it even bigger. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this is actually there's a introduction here, and yeah, looks like this. Yeah, yeah. They have different sizes. Yeah, yeah. It's called Iguvina or Iguvine tablets. Yeah, you can check. Well, it's not really big. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Let's see if there is. Yeah. So this is so in this Wikipedia page, you actually find the how do you say that? Yeah, the translation of the tablets. Yeah. Since Etruscan used the alphabet of Greek, why the transcriptions? Sorry, why the transcriptions of inscriptions don't use Greek letters? Ah, okay, yeah. So actually, they borrowed the Greek alphabets and made their own. Yeah. So they made their own alphabets based on the Greek alphabets. So yeah, I can show you the examples of the alphabets. So if we go to this book, this is I have to make sure. Yeah. So this is a book by take a look. So this is a book by Wallace called Sabellic Languages. Yeah, that's true. They actually made their own alphabets based on the Greek alphabets。就是他做了一个混合版的，就它不是只有希腊字母，他自己根据希腊字母创造了那个新的字母系统。我给你看一下 ，Wait a minute。So this is Oscan. So let's turn to Etruscan from here. Sorry, this is Etruscan alphabets. Actually, you can check Etruscan alphabets in Wikipedia. Yeah. Etruscan. Wait a minute. Yeah, see that this is how to say that? Yeah, this is a Greek alphabet. Make it bigger. Yeah, this is a Greek. This is a Greek alphabet, and then this is the archaic Etruscan alphabet. Yeah. Yeah, they combined the Greek and their own. Yeah, not really Latin alphabets, because the Latin alphabets developed from Etruscan alphabets. So actually, this is the Etruscan alphabet. So it is built from the Greek alphabet, and for this how do you say that? For this letter, in the transcription, they actually do not use ph, they use actually phi, yeah, in for the editors. 就是编辑者他们就没有把它转写成 ph， 然后他把它转写成一个 f 了，大概就是这样。没事没事，对，就是你们有任何问题可以随时问我，反正我这个课就是算是跟大家相互交流的，这个也不是什么考试或者也不是什么作业之类的，你们有任何问题可以随时问我。OK， yeah, so this is another book. If you want to learn learn more about the Sabellic languages, you can read this book. But now let's take a look at the tabulae iguvenae. So this is actually ritual texts. It describes the local rituals and cultic instructions of a religious fraternity known as the Italian Brotherhood and so on. So the content of this tablets, tabulae, are really difficult to understand. And until now, some of the words are still unclear. And actually, Michael Weiss, Michael Weiss, we already mentioned Michael Weiss earlier. And Michael Weiss has actually published another book called The Language and Ritual in Sabellic Italy. So this book is actually annotated or very detailed. You can see that. This book is actually a very detailed study of the third and fourth tabulae iguvenae. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then very interestingly, I also noticed that in Anna Karenina, the famous novel by Tolstoy, our how to say that the hero, no, not the hero, 就是男主角 the main figure, he actually was reading the Iguvenae tablets as he was in his cabinet in his study. Yeah, that's also very interesting. Yeah, and then probably let's take some detailed examples to get an idea of Sabellic language. So for Sabellic language, there's also a special dictionary you can check. So I close this books. So this is a dictionary by So this is most important dictionary if you want to study Sabellic languages, namely Oscan and Umbrian, by Jürgen Untermann. It's published in 2000. Yeah, it has about 900 pages, so very detailed. Yeah, let's take some probably some interesting examples. I selected, for example, this one. So so before we take a look at this word, I will I have a question. So what is the Latin word for tongue? 就是拉丁语的舌头这个词怎么说 ？Tongue. For in Latin, what is Latin? Yeah, lingua. Yeah, lingua. Yeah, but lingua also means language. Yeah, so it's like English. You say that mother tongue means mother language. Yeah, because in English you say mother tongue, right? You say mother tongue, but in German, does anyone know the German word for mother tongue? What is the German word for? Yeah, richtig. Yeah, good. Yeah, Muttersprache. Yeah, Muttersprache. Yeah. So actually, at the very beginning, tongue and language. Yeah, from actually the meaning tongue is more basic. It's fundamental, and then from tongue comes the meaning language, lingua. And then let's take a look at the Sabellic language. So if you find a O before the word, it means that it is attested in Oscan. Yeah. So this is Oscan word for tongue. So in German, it's called Zunge. Yeah. And it looks really different, right? So as we already mentioned, so Oscan, it's Fang Guang. And then Latin, it's lingua. Yeah. And then German, we know German, it's I put New High German, it's Zunge. Yeah. And what is the Sanskrit word for tongue? Sanskrit. Yeah, richtig. Yeah. So Sanskrit. I've got the accent. So it's called Jihva. Yeah. So what happened here? Yeah. So what happened here? That's so weird. Latin starts with L, but Oscan, Sabellic language. Sabellic is closely related to Latin language. It starts with F. What happened? Yeah. And then German it's Z, and Sanskrit is J. Yeah. It's so different. Yeah. Right. So what happened? So according to these forms, the scholars have reconstructed the Proto-Indo-European form. So the Proto-Indo-European form is called dingua, or this girl has a palatal sound, dingua. And then from this dingua, you see that he says that there's a kind of a variation between this dh and gh, yeah. And this d turns to l in classical Latin. But take a look. In Old Latin, a lat means old Old Latin. Yeah. In Old Latin, I guess it's in an inscription. It's called dingua. It's indeed called dingua. So actually, in Latin, we also have these two forms. And then what is this F? So this F must come from the sound. The Oscan form comes from the sound. And then in Gothic, in another Germanic language, is called tungo. This double G is double G. It's just like the Greek word angelos, the messenger, angelos. In Greek, there's a word called angelos. How you put it? Yeah, messenger. Angelos. I forgot the accent. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So double G, the first G means actually a nasal, just like the Gothic word tungo, and just like the German word Zunge, and so on. Yeah. So actually, you can see that there's different sound changes. So different. Sorry. So this is different sound changes in Latin and in Sabellic. So in Latin, the dental sound is preserved, or in later stages, this dental turns into an L. So in Latin, D or D or D to L, yeah. This is the sound change in Latin. But in Oscan, what happened? It actually there's actually a sound change in Oscan that we have the H to F. Yeah. And this sound changes actually occurs also in Latin. Yeah, we will we will see it later. Yeah, this is a sound change in Oscan. This is sound change in Latin. Actually, this sound change also occurs in Middle Indic. If anyone is yeah, and the Sanskrit word is a little bit difficult. Yeah, but another important detail is that you can see that all the forms contains a v sound, right? Yeah, a v sound. Yeah, yeah, it contains a v sound, and the Gothic form called tugo. Yeah, okay, and then it is also how to say that these forms also agree with each other in the ending. In Latin, it is also feminine, I guess. Yes, it's also feminine. And in Oscan, it's also feminine. And in Sanskrit, it's also feminine. Jihva, also Sanskrit. Yeah. And if you want to know more about the Jihva word, you can actually check the Etymological Dictionary of Sanskrit. Yeah. So can anyone just type quickly the Etymological Dictionary of Sanskrit, the name of the dictionary? Yeah. 就你们写一下那个梵语词源学字典的那个名字，可以吗？啊，好，啊，不错不错，好的好的好的，嗯，OK，好，就是这个字典，就是这个字典，OK，好，然后的话，我们就可以去看一下那个 jigfa 这个词。好，大家可以看到，就是 jihva 这个词的词条非常非常的长。There's a lot of information under this jihva, this tongue word. You can see that also in like in Avestan, Iranian languages, and also like in Middle Persian and also in Sogdian and so on. And concerning the construction, reconstruction, this is kind of a long discussion of this form. Yeah, so this word is actually not that easy. There are a lot of problems involved in the forms. Yeah, and also the development of this form. The reason for such kind of irregularity of the words designating or the words for the body parts is that there's also 就是人的身体部位这些词它经常是不规则的，就是body parts words for body parts words 就表示人身体部位的这些词，它一般是irregular yeah. 就是不知道为什么是这个原因，就是比如说大家如果去看那个梵语那个语法书的话，比如说给大家去看一看那个狗透的那个语法书。Wait a minute， 就是大家看好了。就这个，比如说像什么骨头啊，什么眼睛啊，什么对，这个是骨头 ，asti 是 bone，asti astan 是 bone，然后呢还有这个 head 头shiras，就像这种身体部位的词，我估计是后面还有什么face 可能还好，再继续往下看一看，那个对，还有心这样的词，就身体部位这个词在原始印欧语当中，它的变化非常，就是一般是比较复杂，比较不太规律。就比如说like this one, the head, it has two different stems. Like this is us stem, and it is sometimes extended with a n stem. But this actually, you find variations mostly in Vedic texts, and in the classical period, it's kind of the irregularities, the variations was eliminated. Yeah. So this is also a kind of development, a regular development of human language. They tend to be regular. Yeah. Yeah. Regular in another sense. I mean, yeah. Because at the very beginning, these are also regular probably for the Proto-Indo-Europeans, but it's just too complicated. Yeah. OK， 好，这是一个刚才给大家看了这个舌头这个词，就在那个 Oscan 里面，它的形式叫方广。OK， 好，然后再看一个词，就是大家也比较熟悉的，就这个词，这个词叫Duve 的话，大家猜一下，应该也能猜出来是大概是什么意思，对吧？就是它和那个什么deva 提婆啊什么之类的都是同源的。就这个 O 的话就是Oscan，然后 U 的话就是那个 Umbrian，然后 MS 是另外一种语言叫 Mesapish。就大家如果看地图的话，我们刚才看到一张地图，对不对？就是这里有另外一种语言很密切的，叫那个 Mesapic 或者 Mesapish，对，就在这些地方都发现了这个词，叫 Duve 这个词。OK， 好，然后呢，大家可以看到，就是这个字典它下面会有那个等一下啊，比如说，诶，它难道没写意思吗？ 对吧？应该写意思了，对啊，这个词就是来自那个迪奥斯那个或者 Zeus 宙斯。然后呢，大家如果去看这里，比如说那个 Jupiter 那个朱比特这个神的名字，对吧？然后这个前面部分的 U，或者是 Dies Peter 等等之类的，这个都和这个 Oscan 的这个名字是同源的。对，就是这个词。然后大家可以看到它有一些，嗯、就不一样的形式，大概是在这里。OK，好，还有一个词我想给大家看一看的是什么？就刚才跟大家说到那个"神"那个词，大家看到了，就是不知道大家还有没有印象？就是给大家看这个词，就是 isos。isos 就是刚才给大家介绍的那个 Etruscan 这个语言当中，大家看好了。他说 Etruscan 这个语言当中啊，它从那个 Sabellic Language，there's some borrowing from Sabellic languages. Uh, the Etruscan word for God, eyes, may also be a loan from Sabellic, perhaps from Umbrian and so on. So let's take a look of the word for isos in Oscan and Mesavish and so on. Yeah. So the meaning is called God. And then etymology. So actually, the etymology is kind of a little bit tricky because you see that there's also another hypothesis that the Oscan word comes from Etruscan。就这个有点也很好玩啊，就是有的学者认为啊，他是说从 Etruscan 借到 Sabellic，但有一些学者认为是从 Sabellic 借到 Etruscan，就因为这两个很密切关系嘛，所以而且都很早，所以其实分不清到底谁借到谁。那 if this is a Indo-European language, because Etruscan is non-Indo-European, and if this is an Indo-European language, then comes an etymology. So which etymology? This one, from the root, also existed, which we also have this. This root is how do you say that? We also have this root in other Indo-European languages. For example, in Germanic languages, like the German word "ehre", respect， 就是表示尊敬，就是德语的尊敬这个词叫 "ehre"。这个 "ehre" 呢，很有可能是来自一个词根，然后这个词根大概叫 "ice" 或者 "ice"。然后呢，希腊语有一个词根叫那个 "idomai"。然后很有可能也是来自这个同样的词根。一开始呢，表示尊敬，就是或者是对吧，表示尊敬。然后从这个尊敬的意思的话，演变成神的意思。所以说，对于神的这种imagination， 或者是对于神的这种how to say that concept, the concept of God comes from the idea of respect. Just like this, yeah, and so on, yeah, and so on, yeah. So, as I said, if you want to know more about the Sabellic languages, you can check the dictionary. There's a lot of kind of important information. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So actually, this is for today, and this is actually a very brief introduction and kind of very broad and not much, how to say that, we haven't read any specific texts. Yeah, but next time, I don't know which day specifically. And for next time, we will kind of also learn a little bit about the Latin grammar and then I mean Latin grammar, the normal, the Euro Latin grammar, and then we talk about the historical grammar of Latin, like this correspondence between Latin and other languages, like from the Proto-Indo-European P, we have Latin P, and we have Greek P, and Vedic P, and Hittite and Gothic F, Germanic F, but in Celtic it vanishes. I'm not sure whether the Latin word edus is actually derived from. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you mean the master? Oh, okay. Yeah, I have no idea. But for the Latin word, if you want to know about the etymology, you should check the Latin Etymological Dictionary. I'm pretty sure that they have a detailed discussion of the Latin word. Yeah. But for the Etruscan etymology, well, it's actually there are a lot of the Etruscan language itself has not been understood clearly. Yeah. So yeah, I just really want to show you that we have actually in Italy not only Latin but also other languages, and they are kind of related with not related, but they have a lot of contacts with each other. Yeah. Okay. So next time we will have two sections. The first one about the Latin grammar, the normal Latin grammar, and then something about the historical grammar of Latin. And then we probably try to read some short texts from the book by Miser, and also from the book by Wise. We will check some examples. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much again for your attention until now, and I hope you can enjoy, and we will see each other. We will see each other next time. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye bye. Yeah, and I will, as usual, upload the video to our important study website called Bilibili. Yeah. Okay. OK， you're welcome. Yeah. 对 ，Thank you 谢谢，谢谢你们一直在听不客气的。OK， 好，那我就把那个会议停止了好，拜拜。